Okay, so I'll give everybody like a minute to open the view and get that situated on their screens. And in the meantime, I will tell you about this view. So last fall, me and my husband went to Scotland for our belated honeymoon. We got married in June of 2020, had the little pandemic wedding, and we were supposed to go to Scotland for a honeymoon. And we didn't. And instead, we got a dog and we named her Isla because that is our favorite whiskey region. And we didn't end up going to the Isle of Isla because it was a little bit out of the way and hard to get to. But this is a scene from the Isle of Skye. And it's just like overlooking the little coastal area. And we're going to draw everything like to the left of the car. But this is the little residential area called Portree, but it is one of the most magical places. Like you drive onto it and you're like, oh, this is like Lord of the Rings, and people shouldn't be allowed to live here. It's crazy. It's like hills, and they're like all red because it's fall. There's like no trees on the hills, and there's like crazy rock formations, and it's wild. So it's a very special place, and I like it a lot. And I also picked it because it's like a nice little mix of vegetation and little buildings. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. So just for fun, this is the sketchbook that I usually use to draw. It is this big. And actually, before we get started, I'm gonna just go through my Scotland sketchbook for like 2 minutes, just so you know kind of what I was working with there. So this is Scotland, October to November 2022, and just some, travel drawings. This was on the train, my husband asleep, and I was like, drawing the different landscapes and painting the different color palettes as we were going, like taking the train from London to Edinburgh. As we get further along, here's some like art gallery drawings. I love painting cartoons of drawings. I just had a piece up in the New Yorker where I went to the Metropolitan Art Museum to do that. This is some street view stuff. This is actually a view that we're going to be doing next, so I won't stay too long on that one. It's a cartoon of me and my husband. So it's a mix of like cartoons of people that I kind of imagine on the spot, comboed with like the settings that we're in. So this is when we were in like a whiskey bar. This is us at 6 a.m. being jet lagged. With the Isle of Skye. So we rented a car and did a trip around the place. And so at the end of the days when we were sitting in the restaurant, I would draw some scenes from memory or from photos of what we'd seen that day. And once again, here's my husband sitting in the bar. I have like a pen, which I'll show you, and like a travel paint sketch. And this is where we're getting more into like the cool nature stuff. This was like some castle grounds in Skye. This is a cartoon of us in Skye, and it was like pouring rain, but
I love this one.
Yeah,
I love it too.
I like this one too. He's like, get in the car.
So funny.
So when we draw this, it'll be scenery, but also I'm going to be adding some people just for fun, because as they said, it's kind of like a narrative-ish class. It's nice to I like there to be a story, and so it's fun to add some people and imagine what they're doing. Last one I'll show you this is from memory what it looks like driving in Skye, just like dark red hills and low mountains and like tiny roads with sheep. Super crazy. So would highly recommend getting out there if you can. Okay, so for supplies, I have just like 3 pens I primarily use. Like this is what even is this? Oh my gosh. It is a Sailor Fude De Mannen pen, and it's got this cool bent nib, and I love it because you can do fine lines, and you can fine lines. You can also do like these thick lines as well, just by tilting the angle, and it's just so expressive. And I found it so intuitive for live drawing because I think you could just do so many things without having to switch pens. For the finer lines, I just use this 05 Pigma Micron pen. it's like a nice consistent thing. And then I also have this water brush, which I fill with some sumi ink diluted with water. And so it has just like this nice, like kind of consistent gray wash, which I use for accenting. And if you let it dry, and you can layer it and you can get like a darker shade. And it's a really nice, it's like a luxurious feeling tool to have just to kind of give your sketches a little accent where they need.
Would you tell me what that was again that you just did? That pen. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a water brush. And so usually what this is for is you just fill it with like, you know, clear water, and you use it for watercolor painting on the go. So you don't have to carry around a jar of water. And I also use these water brushes for watercolor painting when I'm doing plein air painting. Maybe I'll show you guys that in a bit. But they are multifunctional because you can also put ink and diluted ink in them, rather. And so I've put like water and like just like a few drops of sumi ink, and just to make this little wash here.
Thank you. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. It does like leak a little bit, but you know, you just get it around a paper towel. All right, we're finally getting started. Okay, so
No worries.
thank you for listening. Yes. All right, so great. Okay, so I'm gonna draw on this big one just so it's easier to see, and also because, like, you know, if you're doing this kind of stuff, it's actually nicer to have a bit of a bigger surface area. Then I'm actually zooming in a little bit off. Okay, well, let's just do this here. I've shifted a little bit so that the tree is visible too. Okay, so we're gonna start by doing, okay, so here's like a little horizon. Let's see, I'll move this over. So here's the horizon line. I don't like that. Okay, that's better. So horizon line here.
I only see the sketchbook pad. I've seen what you're drawing also.
We're not able to show both Street View, like the Google Street View, and Zoe's working space. So what you, like, if you want to draw along, you could open this on another tab on your computer, put it a bit smaller, or open the link on a second device. That's also an option, but sadly we don't have the option to combine the two on Zoom.
I just put the link in the chat so you can open it on another window.
Next time I'll take a picture on my cell phone and then I can just look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. Okay. First line is always the scariest. So we have like the horizon line, and we're just gonna the little fuzzy mountain here. And I think that because the mountain kind of like you know, envelops the buildings, it's nice to get it down first so that you kind of have like a little a background on which to draw your little buildings. And for trees, I like to do just like this little scribbly motion. It's like little swirls. Drawing trees is kind of like the bane of my existence. And one of my favorite artists is Jean-Jacques Sempe, who did a lot of New Yorker cartoons. He passed away recently, but he was like crazy masterful, like pen and ink drawings, and would do these incredibly virtuosic illustrations of trees. And I can't do that quite yet, but I can get like the general shape using this little scribbling motion here.
I missed the part where you said what you're using as a tool. What is that?
Yeah, so this is a fountain pen. It's called the Sailor Fude DE Mannen fountain pen, the Fude and then DEMANNEN. And I like it because you can have like a fine tip, but also a wide line depending on how you like tip your nib.
I'm sorry, could you spell it again?
I just put it
Please
in the
check.
chat.
Like we've got it in the chat.
We'll
Like,
put it in.
if you open up the chat, there's all the info there.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Oh, I see it. Yeah, thanks.
Zoe, could you also say the name of the cartoonist you referenced again?
Yeah, Jean-Jacques Sempe, so Sempe is his last name. He did a bunch of stuff for the New Yorker.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really lovely.
I want to look that up because people who figured out their own way of drawing trees. Jean-Jacques.
Some smart person already put it in the chat.
Hey,
The chat is a wealth of information.
yes, we are a well-oiled machine.
Someone's asking what ink you use in that fountain pen, I guess.
Yeah, so this is called, I use Noodler's ink. I'll just show it. Well, I mean, yeah, it's called Noodler's ink. I buy it on Amazon and it is permanent. So, I mean, like it doesn't, it's not, it bleeds like maybe a little bit under ink washes, but it holds up really well if you're not like, completely soaking it in water. In all my sketchbooks, it holds up super well. And it'll hold up today as you will see. And it does a good job of like not clogging the pen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love using, like, I think Speedball is what a lot of people use. I don't love using Speedball because like it just gets so caked in there immediately.
Huh.
At least in my experience.
Yeah, but in the past years, there are so many new inks that are permanent, waterproof, made for fountain pens. Like there's so many brands right now. Kind of overwhelming.
I know. Yeah, it's like you kind of just find what works and you stick with it for that reason, I feel, or else you just spend all your time trying different inks forever. But like someone recommended this, I was like, oh yeah. So then I just tried it and it worked. So I never left.
Yeah. And it's also, it really depends what's available in your country, because I don't think like, I think you can get Noodlers in Europe, but it's very expensive.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But yeah, there's like, I think you can get De Atramentis, and Rora and Klingner have waterproof ink as well. So
yeah, I heard
plenty of stuff.
I heard good things about this acrylic ink. It's called the Daler Rowney acrylic ink. And I don't think you can use that in I'm not sure you can use that in fountain pens.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but it is apparently,
it would be a suicidal move for a fountain pen.
Yes, yeah. But it is very waterproof. I understand. Because it is acrylic. All right, so moving down to my bottom row of houses here. And one thing I should say as well is that I'm planning on putting like a little person and his dog in the foreground on top of the cliff, looking down on the buildings.
That's good to know, because you're like going from your experience being in this spot.
I mean, yeah, like I don't think I saw this exact scene with like the person and his dog, but there's dogs everywhere in Scotland and on Skye. And like it's a strangely dog friendly place. So like in all the pubs, there's always like a dog just like on the floor and everyone's like giving him treats and stuff. So it's like, it's lovely. We had left our dog at home, and so it was nice to have that around.
Get your dog fix.
Yes. And yeah, I try to tell myself not to be too exact. Like even now I'm kind of getting bogged down and trying to get like the exact number of windows and everything like that. But then I try to remind myself that like the point is kind of to capture the energy, the spirit of it, rather than the exact, I see some people who are able to just do these exact reproductions of the scenes that they're looking at, and it's like astonishing. But especially when you have like time constraints or you're just trying to like enjoy the thing, like it's nice to let yourself just be like a little bit free. If that is what will kind of let you exist in the moment more.
Yeah, that's what I love about your work so much, is that you're so unbeholden to exactly what things look like.
Yeah. Thank you. I
It's like,
try
oh,
really
yeah.
hard. Well, I mean, it's half trying and half just like, like, you just gotta chill.
It doesn't look like, ugh, so, though.
But it's so nice about Europe is that like all these buildings, these older style buildings have just like the aesthetic where it's just like many repeating windows and things are like kind of symmetrical. So it's like it feels like things have that kind of vibe, even if you're just kind of loosely sketching them, because they don't really exist anywhere else.
Mhm.
Neat little boat in the water. Add a bit. Off at the end.
If anyone else has a question for Zoe, you can put it in the chat and we will pass it along.
Happy to answer questions.
I also love how you're just going right into it with pen and not sketching at all beforehand. It's like more free that way.
It is for sure. This has been actually one of the bigger challenges of doing work, like professional work that requires a lot of revisions, is that I get like, I think that my most natural state is like kind of sketching on the spot and sketching quickly. And so when something needs a lot of revisions, I get very bogged down in the details, and I find that my work gets very like overly polished, which is fine and it looks fine and it's like presentable, but it doesn't have the same kind of like like same feeling. And so Sempe, Jean-Jacques Sempe, and Quentin Blake, obviously, who is like the master of the kind of like quick expressive line, are my idols for that. I'm always trying to find ways to preserve things looking very spontaneous and energetic while still being in a revisable state, I guess.
I really like the artist Charlie is it McKay who did the boy, the fox, the
Oh yeah.
his I went to one of his shows and it's he does this like one stroke with like a pen, but it looks like a paintbrush with ink. Just beautiful.
That's great. I've been seeing that graphic novel everywhere, and I haven't read it, but
well, they did a movie of it,
oh,
and
yeah. Yes,
it is beautiful. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're done. Well, no, I am done this section, and so now I'm going to move to foreground, which is okay. So I'm just going to visualize first. Actually, no, I'm gonna do the side because I zoomed out a bit, so I've got this cool like wonky tree thing. So I'm gonna do this tree.
Yeah, that's an amazing tree.
Yeah. I love the windswept trees are so interesting. They're just like growing in spite of their environments.
Do you see a lot of these in this area?
These trees?
Yeah.
Honestly, no. Like I don't know if it's because of logging or what, but there aren't a ton of trees on Skye. It's mostly like landslips, which are just those huge sloping mountains that are like a sheer cliff on one side and just like a little gentle hill on the other side. But no, not a ton of trees. The topography in this photos is a little different because I guess it's the coastline and there's people living here and stuff. So I think that they probably kept some of the vegetation, but yeah, and the rest of it, it kind of looks like Mars almost. If you've seen Andor, which is the Star Wars TV show, they filmed Andor on an isle in Scotland, and we came back from Scotland and watched it, and I was like, "That's a Scottish Isle," because like all the rock formations, everything they're just very distinctive looking. And I googled it, and I was right.
Yeah.
So yeah, for this tree, I'm just kind of like almost just like looking at the picture and just scribbling in the general direction that my eyes take me. And yeah, this is a very, in my view, like efficient way of shorthanding trees. I'll hold the page a little closer to the camera after this so that you can see what exactly I'm doing.
It's just very mesmerizing to me to watch you work. Just such nice mark making.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoe, I think we have some questions in the chat for you. Cleo is asking, how do you deal with accidents? Start new, ignore, black out. What do you do?
Accidents? Okay, so I don't know. I'm just gonna flip this. When I started this drawing, I did one line, and the line felt really bad. Yes, I did this line, and I was like, I don't like that.
No.
I just turned the page and started again. So I feel like the first line kind of like sets the mood. So if the first line is bad, I'll usually just turn the page. But other than that, I scribble through it, or I just draw over it. I'm sure that I can find examples in my sketchbook where there's just like kind of half a face, and I just like turn it into a jacket or something, right? And when I'm sketching and I have this kind of like style where I'm scribbling a lot, like that's a lot more forgiving. And when I'm at home and I have access to it, I will sometimes like white stuff out and do that, especially if I have to like take a picture of it to post. But usually I just scribble through it. Or again, if I've started it wrong and it feels kind of unsalvageable, if I've started it wrong, then I'll just turn the page and that's fine.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Of course. I'm definitely going to add some like shading to this later with the paintbrush, because right now it's looking a little bit like it's kind of hard to see what's further away and what's in the foreground, in the background.
And this is about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, one thing that you can see that I'm not the best at is that this tree is only this big, and if you look on the photo, like it's further it's closer to the viewer, and so it really should be about this big, I might just fudge that. So we have a tree that's a little bit bigger because it's in the foreground, but that's one thing that I'm continuing to. Well, here you go. This is a way in which I'm fudging through a mistake. So yeah, this is one thing I'm still working on, is when I'm drawing a scene, to keep everything in my head at the same time, because I tend to get focused on like the details if it's a bigger scene, and then I draw one part of it like, you know, way smaller than it should be, instead of like having it be a cohesive whole. But again, that is fine. It's just life.
Yeah, it's still a tree.
It's a tree. So we're just gonna. There you go. It's like we didn't make a mistake at all. And the tree's crazy enough that it's like very forgiving if we just, you know, go in different directions. Okay, so that is just like the mountain. And because this is a little scene, we're gonna put a little person here. So person will be in the foreground. Will be about yay big. Looking at his little dog. Let's see.
You a request in the chat for the dog to be a sausage dog.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's actually very cute. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, just like adding the person totally changes the whole, like the purpose of this drawing from being like a pretty landscape postcard to something that has like this narrative. It's like a setting instead of the main focus.
Yeah. Yeah, I love drawing people in things. It's, yeah, having a subject, I feel, is it grounds the scene, and it's just, you know, it's a lot more humanity. So now we get to, I'm just going to move over here a little bit to complete it over this side, see how we can even go about putting someone here. Okay. He needs to be standing or sitting. There's not really room for him to be standing, so I think that I'm going to make him sitting on like a little stool, and his dog will be like next to him. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And because it's a little student setting, we're gonna put his little cane here. A lot of old people on Skye as well. It's very adorable. A lot of old people and their dogs, so this is really not even that inaccurate.
So impressed with how you're just going for it.
And you're drawing the sky from the imagination, right?
Yes, I am.
So you've got like an inner vocabulary of how to draw people from the imagination.
I do. And it's, you know, just if you draw something enough, it's like anything, right? You just have like a little like muscle memory for how things are shorthanded. Okay, so here's the dog. He's gonna be looking up at him lovingly, being like, yeah, little tongue. Um,
So cute. It's looking so cute.
I think it's also really smart that you left enough space to draw this protagonist in your scene. Because I was sketching along and like I'm trying to add a person, but it's like I have to like squish it to the side.
Yeah.
And yeah, now it looks like an accident. But hey,
Oh no. Yeah.
it's fine.
You can, edit as needed to make it not look like an accident.
Yeah.
Or like with the tree. But yes,
He's wearing a sweater.
Oh,
Oh,
Scotland.
genius.
Guys with a little coffee. Man, the the coziness while we were there was like off the charts. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Scotland during the summer too has like a lot of tiny little mosquitoes, which would not have been fun. So I'm glad that we went during the kind of chilly months.
Yeah, they're called midges,
Midges, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is quite sketchy, as you can see. Like, you know, it's all very approximate. You can just sort of make out what's going on. He's Jenny, I know that you said that you didn't leave enough space. Honestly, I didn't really leave enough space either. Like, there's just not enough room for this right now. But we're just gonna kind of fudge it. And again, because he's a cartoon man, his legs can be really short. That's okay. It's just like it was intentional. It's a stylistic choice.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just
It was all on purpose.
exactly.
That's also the story we're telling.
Okay, so that is the guy. I'm gonna close off this little.
Oh, that little steam coming off the mug as well.
So cozy.
Yeah.
And how are we looking for time?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's been like 30 minutes. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I am
Good
finishing up
time.
anyway, so it'll be probably like a couple more minutes for this.
okay.
Okay, so
We have some more good questions, but we can talk to you about them later in the session too.
Sure.
I really like this question from Sabrina.
Hmm.
They ask, how does your partner handle it when you want to draw? Do you often draw on location or more from pictures when you're traveling with your partner?
yeah. For these trips where we're walking a lot, I will usually draw from I'll usually draw from pictures like later on in the day, but sometimes I'll just go on like I'll go on like a walk by myself. We'll do something separate for like a little while, and that'll be my drawing walk. But sometimes we are doing activities that just like let me draw. So if we're like in an art gallery and we're kind of like standing quietly and looking at the things anyway, like that's just time for me to draw, right? And we've been together for 8 years and I'm kind of always drawing. And so like we'll often be like sitting down for a meal and I'll be like drawing him because, you know, like I have like so many just illustrations of him in my travel journal, just of him in a restaurant because the restaurant looks nice and he's the subject, right? So I'll always do that. And I'll try to do it discreetly. He's always like, are you drawing me? I'm like, yes, I'm drawing you. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it. So, yeah, like one is to, you know, do it on your own or from a photo. And the other is just like have a partner who is cool with you drawing all the time. That's like, I'm not even joking when I'm saying that. Like, this probably wouldn't have worked if he was like more self-conscious about images of himself being on the internet because I just draw cartoons of him all the time.
Yeah, I went on holiday and my husband would go take photographs while I sat in a cafe and drew.
Yeah.
And then the people in the cafe would start looking at it and the waitresses, and then I'd start talking to them and walk out without paying. So quite often he'd say to me, "Did you pay?" And I'd be like, I'd have to run back in and pay, and we'd like all laugh.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're caught in the moment.
Because they're quite happy for you to hashtag that you've drawn in there and stuff like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I do wish I'd left a bit more room for this guy, or had, you know what, and if I had done this differently, I could have started with him, you know, like, because when there are people actually in the scene, I will always start with the people. That's what I did with the pigeon people too. Well, I mean, they were obviously the focus, so obviously we started with them. But yeah, I think if I could do this over, I would start with the guy. And so perhaps for the next demo, I will start with the person, so that they can be the focal point. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple minutes and do this, or like 1 minute and do this little shading thing with the brush.
Yay.
So we obviously highlight the things that, well, how are we gonna do this? I think the water is the lightest part, so we don't want to shade the water because that just kind of pops out. So we're gonna do this. 1 second here. This village. I think in general, foreground should be a bit darker, because that is.
Someone in the chat would like to know which brand water brush and what size water brush you're using.
This is the Holbein. I think it's a large Holbein water brush. I have not been able to find. I bought this in like a local art store, and I haven't been able to find another one of it. I think that they kind of switch up their stock from time to time, but I like it a lot because it's a nice, like, chunky brush tip. It's good for shading, laying down the shading. So we're just doing the tree here, adding some stuff with the tree.
And someone also wanted to know how you refill your fountain pen.
Yes, that is, I will take it apart and show you that in a second. I have a converter for the fountain pen, which is a fun thing.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a tiny bit of a learning curve, but it worked out. So the shading is always scary because there's always the days when you shade way too much and it's the wrong thing, and then your whole picture just kind of looks like a blob and you just have to deal with it. But so it's always I mean, with anything, this ink drawing, it's always like a bit of a leap of faith. There's things that you kind of wish you did differently here and there, and then there's the odd day where everything goes right, and then you're like, oh my god, like, I'm a genius, this is great. So I think this is looking okay. So there's that. And then I think we're going to do a bit of the trees back here, but not the whole thing, just like the low lights, because we don't want it to be too dark.
I think it's also interesting that inking only the foreground gives the sketch a lot of depth already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives it like a nice separation, so you know actually what you're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Windows, maybe. And I think last thing is just for the water, the parts right next to the dock are a bit darker, so I'm just gonna low light those. And also there's like these, you know, like little shadows in the water, but I don't really want to risk that because I feel like I might overdo it. Maybe I could if I would. Let's see here. Okay, we're gonna try. So we're gonna do like one of these little thingies, and just like dab it out with the paper towel a little bit so it's not so dark. All right, I think that I am basically done. If we
Awesome.
wanted to, we could go and do a bit more of the sky, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually another thing. And now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm actually gonna I'm also gonna shade in these trees a little bit because that actually could use a bit more. So I'm gonna leave like a little bit of a highlight around the edges, but I am gonna do this because I think that makes it stand out a bit more against the buildings. Great. And then now it's kind of like a little halo surrounding the people.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the composition works actually really well.
Mhm.
And I don't think it looks like the guy has not enough space. I
Okay,
think he's
that's good.
not at all.
Okay, awesome. I know. I think we're also just kind of our own critics. We're like, oh no, we could have done this better.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is great. I like this. I do like this.
It's so cozy.
Yeah.
Mhm. Excellent.
We have so many questions in the chat, like more than usual, but maybe
Yeah.
we can get to those during the next drawing that
Yeah,
we do.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to answer questions. Okay, great, cool.
Awesome.
Okay, we're done. Yay.
Yay, Zoe!
Hooray.
Thank you so much for showing us your approach. It really is telling us a story, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome. I love it. Yes.
Right.
Beautiful.